Welcome back to your three-man booth. I'm Dan Salem. This is Phil, but Buds went to Disneyland to celebrate the Patriots' victory. So normally three, we're down to two this week. How's it going, Phil? We got the AAF kickoff and a lot of news and notes already.
We do. It's interesting. For the first week of no football, there's actually a lot going on between, like you said, the AAF kicking off, and there's a lot of there's a couple of signings. There's trade rumors. There's a lot going on in the first weekend. And it's funny. I saw a funny meme or meme, however you say it, about this is the first weekend without NFL football, but there's no shortage of news going on. That's for sure. And the NFL is a 12-month-a-year sport. We all know.
And technically it wasn't NFL football, but like you said, the AAF, it's trying to be this, not like a minor leagues, but a complementary league to feed the NFL. So we almost had like AAA football going on last weekend, which is kind of
So right when they first started, they had their kickoff show and they had their highlight package, and that's really what it was built to be. They had is it Bill Polian?
Yes.
The old GM from the Colts and the Bills. And he basically said that, I think it was Kurt Warner that asked him, where do you see this league in 5 or 10 years? And he's like, to be quite honest, we want to work with the NFL and be like their developmental league.
Yeah.
Every other league has one. The AHL is for hockey. WNBA, sorry. The G. Okay. Obviously, you have the baseball minor league. So every other sport has a minor league. It really was just a matter of time.
No,
I think it's a great idea.
And they're calling themselves that from the beginning because there's 2 or 3 other leagues sprouting up. And so they've already kind of tried to claim that we're the minor leagues of the NFL, whereas the other leagues, I don't know what their marketing pitch is yet. They haven't launched. So
right. So one of the games, the fourth one of the weekend, was actually on NFL Network.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
It's almost like I kind of have a funny feeling. Obviously, the AAF has a bunch of NFL ties. It has a whole bunch of former GMs, have a whole bunch of former players and coaches. Yeah. I really have an idea that the XFL too is going to have something to do with the NFL, because we've already happens when you try and compete with the NFL, you get buried.
Yeah.
NFL got buried. NFL Europe didn't work. It's you get buried.
Well, and it would be classic NFL to go from 0 minor leagues to have 3 minor leagues feeding them, right?
It will be interesting to see if the 2 of them that are obviously going to be sprouting up the next few years end up merging. Or someone had a funny comment about the winners of each league should play each other at the very end of the year to see who's the best. Like, that's not a bad idea.
I kind of like that. Well,
yeah, it's an interesting idea.
That's a parallel to college football where the winners of the conferences play each other at the end. And I was thinking how the AAF, at least right now, is about the coaches, just like college football is about the coaches. Like, the coaches are the stars in college football. And right now, like with Steve Spurrier and a couple other names, I guess Brad Childress was in and then he left. But there's more big names in the coaching ranks than the players right now, which is not such a bad thing. They're the ones that are going to develop these guys. So
yeah, I do wonder, half the reason why the XFL failed the first time is because they only gave themselves a year to begin, a year to start, training and getting all these teams together. And it felt rushed, and it felt like it wasn't all there. I mean, again, if you haven't seen that 30 for 30 or anyone's seen that, watch it. It's actually really, really good.
Yeah.
This one, the AAF, again, started, and they said, all right, next year we're going to start 2019.
Yeah.
I was like, nope, we're going to start in 2 years because we don't want to make the same mistakes we made the first time. So I'm interested to see the type of players that they're going to get next year, because obviously the best go to the NFL. The guys who maybe don't make an NFL roster or who are on practice squads are currently playing in the AAF. What's left over for XFL? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, after this draft, I mean, there's always a ton of undrafted players. There's always a ton of guys that flame out and don't even complete the rookie deals, but they were still stars in college. So there's a lot of talent out there.
All these guys that, like I said, I saw bits and pieces of each one of these 4 games, and each one they were going through their college, history. Like, they all played at, big name colleges. Like you said, they weren't good enough to make an NFL roster, or they were on practice squads.
So what do you make of the one game was like an offensive dominating blowout, and then the other game, at least the 2 Saturday games, was a defensive battle to the end?
So defensive battle is putting it nicely. There were, from what I saw, a ton of sacks in both of those games.
Yeah.
It's because the offensive lines aren't up to speed as defense. You know that old saying, the offense doesn't gel as fast as defense does. And it's obviously a lot easier to play defense. You just rush the quarterback. So there were a lot of sacks. It did look like players weren't able to develop. I heard something today that Spurrier likes to run a lot of plays where it takes time for the receivers to get open and run their routes. And when you're obviously your offensive line, and we know all too well from talking about the Giants last year, when you don't have a time in your offensive line, you can't make any plays. And so that's what I noticed the first couple of games. Granted, it was still fun to watch.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was backyard football. It was obviously organized. But, I'm saying that as a tongue in cheek. But it was good. It was entertaining. Let's put it that way.
Well, so I read Bill Polian's comments, and he obviously said that the game itself will develop by the end of the season because these guys haven't really had a full offseason of practice together. But what about the speed of the game? Because he was really pushing, okay, we've eliminated a lot of kicking. We've tweaked some of the rules to try to speed up the game. They obviously changed the overtime rule, which I like their overtime rule, which we talked about before, as opposed to the NFL one, which screwed a lot of teams in the playoffs. But did the game feel faster?
Yeah, because just for timeouts alone, you change of possession, timeouts. They had this. Half the screen was the game, and then half the screen was the commercial, and they went through one, maybe two commercials, and boom, right back to the field.
Okay.
So it flowed a lot cleaner.
And
the worst thing in the world is team score a touchdown in the NFL, commercial, kick the ball off, commercial, back from commercial, run one play, timeout, commercial. We all can't stand it, but that's how the NFL makes their money, and that's never going to change, unfortunately.
Well, so it'd be interesting to see how some of this may feed back, because one of the big selling points of the AAF is supposed to be their app, and that you can play in-game fantasy and you can play in-game gambling. I think you can bet on what the next play is going to be and they have the whole running statistics of everything from before it, because there's all the chips and the balls and everything. Now, as an aficionado of placing wagers, does this interest you to really be in-game betting and stuff like this? I'm intrigued by the in-game fantasy aspects. I haven't tried it out yet, but
so I did download the app. I downloaded it. I didn't actually use it as I was watching the game. Maybe I'll try that next. But they were showing the app and like you said, it was supposed to be all real time with the play running and you can guess the plays. I don't know so much about the in-game wagering as far as more of a fantasy or how ESPN says has it guess the street kind of thing. I have a feeling that it's like that at the moment because not only have legalized gambling yet.
Yeah. So. Well, maybe some of that was looking ahead towards.
I've heard that they want to do that. So that's
maybe that was maybe I was reading too much in. It's not a day one thing where you can because maybe they want to also you want a full couple games worth of stats for these players to see their tendency. Right. Then you can guess how they're going to do and what they'll do. It sounds really cool. It sounds like Bill Polian decided I couldn't make progressive change in the NFL, but I can do whatever I want here. And it's almost like a testing ground for new rules at the higher level almost. We'll see if it plays out that way. But
well, if you go back to the XFL the first time around, they're the ones that started to implement the eye in the sky, that camera that hovers over the stadium. That wasn't in the NFL. The NFL adopted that. Yeah. I want to say the pylon cam was something too. There was another that the XFL did that the NFL adopted. I know for sure the camera in the sky was one. But maybe it was the pylon cam. I forget. I have to look it up. But there was some NFL adopted the first go around. So I agree with you. I think they're going to adopt. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be rules changes, but I did notice even during this year, if it's a quick break, they'll keep half the game. They'll keep the game on half the screen, then the other half for the quick commercial. So that kind of already is adopted, which is a nice feature. And if you're on one commercial, no one's going to care because you still need time to run the players on and off the field. So it's not that big a deal. It's when you have the 2 and 3 minute commercial breaks when you watch one play that drives everybody nuts. Yeah.
So before we move on to the NFL news, because they're actually quite a lot, and I want to talk on even that fact alone for a moment. Would you say I felt like this first opening week was a success for the league? You sounded like you enjoyed yourself enough that you definitely tuned back in. It's not like a snooze for people per se.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Did I watch every play of every game? No. I had it on the background. I had it on during dinner. So I was I was peeking in left and right and seeing what was going on. Being how there's no team anywhere close to me, I think
that's too bad.
It doesn't give me an opportunity to have a hometown team. Like you have the San Diego Fleet, I think it is. I forget the name of their team. I don't have
Yeah.
I won't have an affiliation with any team because there's nobody even close to me.
No, they had to do warm weather cities because they're playing in the winter, and there's not really any domes in the Northeast, unfortunately. You would have thought maybe they would have made MetLife Stadium a dome since it's a cold weather climate. But even Foxborough, they're not domes. There's no way it would be working.
Yeah, that's true, and obviously that makes complete sense. But
yeah,
I won't have like I won't have. I'll enjoy for the first time. I'll actually be able to enjoy a sport where I don't have a rooting interest, and I can kind of just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, no, that's good, and it's a real interesting perspective. I soft root for NBA teams, but I really feel that way about the NBA. I don't have a strong rooting interest, so I can observe the sport as a whole, and it's a whole different perspective on it. It's really
and I just thought of this when the XFL comes next year. There's teams in Chicago, LA, New York. They're in all the big name cities, which to your point don't have domes, so it's going to make it pretty interesting.
And I feel like cold weather football games are much slower than warm weather football games. So for them to stick with the warm weather teams and really push the pace of the game, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this develops. Now, you pointed out Christian Hackenberg still not very good. Yeah, poor guy. I mean, one game. It's only one game, but
no, it's if you didn't watch any of that, I mean, obviously there's a very good reason why he was cut from the Jets. It's not like he was a missed opportunity.
A silent vindication for Jets fans. I never questioned our GM, but we never even got to see him on the field. I know Bud was probably like, come on, I don't know. Is he actually that as bad as you say he is? And
all of last year he was clamoring, let him play, let's see what he has. And when they did let him, you pretty much saw what he had right off the bat.
Yeah, wow. So normally the NFL offseason kicks off, I think it's March 9th. It's the first week of March.
Yeah, March 8th, March 9th, right around there.
We don't really get it till in February here because teams can't do anything until the new league year begins and the money resets. I missed the boat. How did the Browns sign Hunt? It's because he had no team, so they basically signed him on last season?
I mean, yeah, I won't pretend like I know the rules of what they did. I know they signed because Kansas City cut him last year.
Right.
This year. So technically he's free to sign with whoever he wants.
Okay, so he was a free agent. Yeah. So they basically signed him on 2018 money. So I feel like maybe when the league year resets on next month, they'll have his rights and they could just cut him again. But maybe if someone else wants him, they retain his rights. Because it just seemed like an odd swoop in to me. He's kind of.
It's funny though, but isn't it funny how Cleveland of all places, for the longest time they were the team where all these players were getting their second chances. Josh Gordon was there for the longest time, and look what happened. It seemed like that and like Cincinnati seemed like, and Dallas obviously with Greg Hardy and those kind of players, but like those are the teams that you just assume if they sign. That kind of makes sense.
So it does, but you mentioned those three names, and when I think of those three teams, I think of they were the ones that had all the F-ups and all the arrests and all the bad.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. So
when chance, or was that so all the people failed at their second chances?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, in the end, that's exactly what happened. Ray Rice never got another shot, which is interesting, and we all know Kaepernick. But
to that point, yeah.
I questioned it. I was like, why Cleveland? Because Nick Chubb had his coming out party in 2018. So I guess Kareem Hunt is going to be his backup. I mean,
that's why I threw out there. I think they wanted to retain his rights so that if someone else wants him, they could get compensatory picks, or
that's possible.
They could trade him because
the GM said that everyone deserves a second chance. So I don't know their intentions.
Yeah. It's interesting because you would think that's true, but it's not. They didn't give Ray Rice one. Not that he necessarily deserved it, but I don't quite see the difference between that situation and this one.
So from what
I don't know the details, admittedly. I don't know all the details, but
right. So this is just hearsay that there's no evidence of the Kareem Hunt. It's just a he said, she said kind of deal. Like there's no arrests were ever made, no charges were ever filed, from what I heard.
It's just interesting that the Chiefs got rid of him immediately, so they obviously believed it was true.
So it was more of I think they were pissed that he lied about it. He never actually told them that what happened, and if he did, he just was like, it's probably nothing. I think they kind of hid the truth from them.
Yeah, I guess that's tough because I mean there are situations where it is a he said she said and it is somewhere in the middle. And then there are more situations where it's black and white and you know exactly what happened. And I mean, I'm all for second chances. You shouldn't throw Kaepernick in there. He got blackballed. I mean, he didn't really do anything wrong in the first place. I mean, no, he actually didn't do anything wrong in the first place. He wasn't breaking a rule at the time.
Yeah, no, you're right. But he kind of started a movement that got so far out of hand that, you kind of twisted the NFL's hand about we can't have everybody in the league kneeling on the national anthem. They were losing viewers. It was a terrible look for the league at that point.
Yeah.
On the surface, obviously there was a much.
It's funny that you say that. He got put as the face of that, and then they kicked him away, and basically by doing so made everyone else fall in line because no one else wanted to lose their job. So they made an example out of him.
That's what I mean. That's exactly.
I'll leave it at that. I don't want to. We don't need to get into that because
Plus, and I said this to Bud and you guys a couple weeks ago. If Kaepernick was Aaron Rodgers, he would not have gotten kicked out of the league. He wasn't that good. He was okay. He's probably better than some quarterbacks that are in the league now, but he wasn't that great. If he was an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady,
he led his team to back-to-back NFC championships and made the Super Bowl one those years. Maybe if they had won it, then maybe it would have been different. He would have been a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I don't know.
I don't know either. But it's like we're so far removed that even if he came back right now, you're still.
It's too late. He has nothing to gain from returning. He's already the face of that movement. That's kind of more than he ever hoped by taking the knee in the first place. So,
right.
No, but I'm not against second chances. It just seems really quick for Hunt to get his because I don't feel like the situation's resolved itself. And but because it's Cleveland, I'm not surprised. And I guess someone's going to do it. They decided to be first and not miss out because he was a great.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, yes, do you still have to go through the whole legality of all this? And is there a suspension coming? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It happened with Zeke. A year and a half later, he got suspended.
Yeah, that's right.
There's still that you have to deal with too, I think.
Yeah. So more interesting to me is Antonio Brown.
More interesting to everybody in the league, I think, right now.
Because I mean, we knew he was leaving. We knew he was leaving Pittsburgh after they benched him for Week 17 in a must-win game that basically.
He didn't show up to meetings. He basically quit on them. He didn't show up to meetings or. He kind of forced his hand too.
But it was ballsy to bench him in the middle of a playoff race. They didn't make the playoffs. Right?
100%.
They missed. Now they still won that game, and they missed because of outside circumstances. But I mean, Le'Veon, I commend him because Le'Veon Bell made the Steelers tried to call their bluff, and they held them to it. Antonio Brown did the exact same thing. He tried to call their bluff, and they held him out of the game, even though they needed him in the game for a playoff spot. The Steelers have proven they're not going to back down. I don't believe that they're in the right necessarily in either situation. I think a fresh start would be good for Brown. And I don't think he's really a big locker room disturbance. We see the same thing out of Cleveland. I feel like we've seen the same thing out of Pittsburgh in the past. And, I never forget Randy Moss was this big headache, quote unquote, for another team. And then he went to New England and he was a model citizen and a great teammate. And, maybe he was a changed man, but I don't actually think he was as bad as he was in the first place and everyone had to make him off to be. I just don't think he wanted to play for a crap team anymore. So, I don't know.
I also think Antonio Brown was getting a little upset that Juju was starting to get all the looks and all the attention and all the press. But if you think about it, when Antonio Brown came in the league, what was the wide receiver there before him? The name is slipping me, but basically he was in the same position that Juju's in. He was the new coming up, and he morphed into what he is today. It's kind of the same thing. The teacher's now the student, or it's now the teacher, and it's the same role is happening to him.
Yeah, I've seen from Brown. I mean, teams are going to double team him. It's going to open up the other guy on the other side, and so Ben kept going that way because the guy was open. You can't blame him for that.
Right. The whole reason Juju gets all these yards is because Antonio Brown gets double the triple team.
I think Antonio Brown, his entire act this year comes back to the way Pittsburgh treated Le'Veon Bell. That locker room got completely divided. The Steelers just said, we don't care about team chemistry. Go F yourself. Because you got to believe those guys, some of them were friends with Bell. Bell was the best player on offense. Yep. And they just said, screw you. We don't care about winning the Super Bowl this season. We're going to bench our best player. And Brown kind of like, I mean, over the course of the year, they didn't necessarily show him any love, and they never even apologize for the way they treated Bell. And like, as a star in the league, Brown's going to be on Bell's side because Bell's a star, Brown's a star. And the players got to stick together. I mean, why should they have any loyalty to somebody like the Steelers? He didn't play bad this year. He didn't stand out, but like Roethlisberger's almost done. They trotted out a terrible defense. If he wants to win a championship in his final couple of years of his career, he's got to leave. So, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh's about to go from one of the perennial playoff teams to, maybe the bottom of their own division because you take Bell and Brown off any team. I mean, why is Ben even going to come back anymore?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he retires this year. I don't know.
You're going to come back to a situation where, maybe you want to be the mentor and you want to be that guy who's, going to teach the young guys, and that's all well and good, but you're doing it as lame duck is the wrong term because they're not going to fire him, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing – he's not really playing for at the moment.
Yeah, I guess I'm always on the side of the players, and so I like to try to defend them because these teams are only looking out for their own interests, and they kind of say, screw you, we want to save a buck, screw you. Like, some of them aren't even trying to win. They're just trying to make money, and they're all making
That's true.
money. So, and the players' careers are so short. So –
But this isn't about money for Antonio Brown, though. The Le'Veon Bell was 100% about money in his next contract. Yeah. This isn't about money for Antonio Brown. It's just, like you said, he probably wants to get out of the situation.
So I teased this in NFL Spin Zone. It's probably a shot in the dark because the price for Brown is going to be super high. But you got to imagine that Tom Brady is just chomping at the bit for the Patriots to be able to trade for Brown if possible.
You think so?
So he played with a superstar in Randy Moss, and they went undefeated until they lost to the Giants. And both Randy Moss, there was 2 incredible Randy Moss seasons. Ever since then, I think it took a season or 2, and then he got Rob Gronkowski, who has been his superstar up until this year. Even if Gronk comes back, he's not the same player. He doesn't have that A to throw the ball to anymore. And when does a player like Brown come around? I was just thinking Brady would love to prove it to everybody. Be like, look, I'm just as great as I ever was. Give me Antonio Brown, and I'll show you how great we can be. What else does he have to prove? We talked about it. What else does he have to prove? Except he is coming back to try to win another title, to try to go back-to-back and win 3 out of 4. But if he does if he completes I don't see them completing an undefeated season. The fact that they made that run in the first place was kind of unbelievable. It's like one in a lifetime, right?
Well, that team was just so good, and it was just what Brady threw 50 touchdowns that year, wasn't it?
Yeah, but now on paper, just Tom Brady to Antonio Brown, that's a step up from Ben Roethlisberger to Antonio Brown. Like, it just is.
You have to say so. But don't forget, the only way that the Patriots get him is by trading for him. And I can't imagine the Steelers trading Antonio Brown to the Patriots.
I mean, I don't even know what you'd have to give up. The Patriots don't have a lot of A-list assets to trade.
They also don't have any high first round, second round, or third round picks. They're all going to be the last pick of each round because they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I mean, do you give up 2 1s, which is for Brown, and do the Steelers take it even if it's the last pick of the round? I don't know. It'd be interesting.
It's tough because what's Antonio Brown going to be, 29 or 30 this year? I mean, he's not a spring chicken. I mean, he obviously is a great receiver and has miles on his legs, but
I'm just thinking it'd basically be for the rest of Brady's career. You'd pair them together for the rest of both of their careers, and Brady's got nobody to throw the ball to. He's got Edelman. Everybody else on that receiving core is a free agent. Like everyone.
I think I just heard Bud's head explode about the notion of Antonio Brown going.
Well, and I wrote it in the article. I said, so is this wishful thinking, or is this me trying to do a reverse jinx as a Jets fan? Because no one's saying it. I mean, I don't know where he's realistically going to go. The price is so steep. I don't want the Jets to give up their first round pick this year for him, but I do want him. I mean, what do you actually have to give up? Bud said Jamal Adams. You can't give up Jamal Adams. So
no.
I mean.
So Amari Cooper went for 1 first-round pick. We're all in agreement that was way too much to give up. But if he's going to go for a first-round pick, AB's going to go for one and a 2 or a bunch more players. I mean,
was it too much to give up because he got the Cowboys to the playoffs? Like, without him, they don't make the playoffs. Now, I don't know.
I mean, we can debate that, but
it's very difficult for any team to succeed on offense without an A-list receiving weapon.
Yep.
Everyone always says the Patriots don't have any wide receivers. They have Rob Gronkowski, who's one of the greatest tight ends ever. And that makes Edelman better. That makes everyone better. They've had Gronk, maybe the best, like, who's a lock. If you throw him the ball, he's going to catch it. And he can't tackle him. Like, when he catches the ball, he never goes down right away. He's too big and strong. So that fits that for them. Every team that succeeds has it. The Jets didn't have it last year. They don't have a number one. They had like 3 2s. And I was like, maybe they could do really well with 3 2s. But they didn't.
Yeah, you're going to see like one. It's going to be interesting to see what his list of teams are, because you always see all these guys like, I want to play for here. I mean, if you're Pittsburgh, you're like, well, screw you. We're going to send you to San Diego to play in a soccer stadium. Like, they're not going to bend over backwards, because he's technically under contract until 2021. They don't have to do anything with him.
They need to trade him.
I mean, I know.
So
yes, they do, but
right now, so the thing is, they have no leverage.
There's also dead cap money. There's also dead cap money associated with this too. I forget the number, but there's. Remember Mark Sanchez, when the Jets couldn't trade Mark Sanchez because it cost them more to do that than keep him?
Yeah.
So
Pittsburgh probably has to trade him by the end of the month, or that dead cap money hits their cap for next year's books.
Yeah, it's March 12th or something that he gets like a roster bonus. If he's on the roster, it's like you're right. It's either right before or right after the new year.
So there are 4 weeks for Pittsburgh to trade him. This is a fire sale. Like, they have no leverage. Every other team in the league can lowball them to hell, and then the highest lowball wins, because they need to trade him within the next month. Like,
maybe you won't see any offers of 2 number ones. Maybe you're only going to see a 1 and one.
Well, the Cowboys, the Cowboys set the bar with 1-1, like Amari Cooper for a 1. I mean, they didn't have a number 1 receiver. They got him, and they got one, and so they gave up a first-round pick to do it. You say it's steep, but it's a tough call, because it's a proven player, and he really made their offense different.
Well, let's not forget, he only had one really good game. That game that what was it, like 200 yards or something like that. His other games were okay. Yes, it gave Dak an extra weapon.
Well, it's really hard to integrate a wide receiver into the offense immediately, and so I'm thinking he's still on the team for next year, right? Like, that's not so that's a long-term play. They bring him back, and a whole offseason together. That should do something for their offense, I would expect. So I would think the market for Brown is probably in a similar range, a single 1, or a 2 this year and a 1. I don't know, 2 this year, or like a 1 next year and a 3 this year maybe. You could swap, or like a 2 this year and a 1 next year for your 2 next year, and Brown, something like that. Because I feel like it's Brown for a 1, because like I said, it's got to be a fire sale. I don't see how they can possibly be in the market here.
And you got to think it's got to go to a team like the Niners or the Cardinals, like one of these teams that has a high number 1 draft pick. Because again, what good are you going to do with the Patriots' number 1 pick when it's picked 30 in the first round?
But my point is, if everybody's lowballing and they're not giving you a pick until next year, do you want one next year, or do you want one this year? If they want one this year, they go for that offer of the late Patriots one.
Yeah, I have a feeling that any offer that comes in is going to involve this year's number 1 first round pick, in my opinion. If they want him for this year, and like you said, you want to be the team that doesn't get outbid.
Yeah.
But that's the other side of it, because you know what, every other team's going to try and outbid everybody else too. So that's the game you have to play.
Well, they are. So I'm looking at the teams picking 11 through 20, because.
Oh, would you? So let's say the Jets, just for hypothetical sake, forget Jamal Adams. If it was just straight up AB for your number 1 pick, do you do it with your number 4 pick? What do you have, 4 or 5? I forget.
Number 3.
Number 3, that's right. So do you give up the number 3rd pick in the draft, which you're going to use on a defensive player anyway, for Antonio Brown?
My gut says no. My gut says you don't do it, because, I mean, most people, almost every top 10 pick hits. Like, that's almost besides the quarterbacks, those are almost, that's a 50-50 or better slam dunk. Like, it's rare that a top 10 pick misses. And I mean, the Jets haven't missed on their picks.
It's interesting. It's not a snap call. It's not a snap call like you think it would be.
My gut says no because I also could see the Jets trading that pick for 2 or 3 more and picking 10th. And, like, they need a lot of holes. One player doesn't fix their team. That's why I was looking at teams like 10 through 12, 11 through 20, because they're not giving up a surefire player, whereas I feel like the top 10 usually is a surefire player. And there are also teams that will be a little bit closer. Like somebody like the Lions, that would make a huge difference for Matthew Stafford. Especially since what's-his-face Calvin Johnson retired, because Calvin Johnson was everything to him. I mean, he would make a big difference for Darnold, don't get me wrong, but it's not good. Like, I don't feel like the Jets are one player away. I feel like they're 3 or 4 players away. Whereas
all over the place.
Somebody else, like Green Bay has a high pick. Green Bay, because they have Aaron Rodgers, might be that one player away. So
that's true.
I mean, they have a pretty good defense. Their running game is coming together. So they're number one. I don't know. Is it like it's in the 8 to 15 range, isn't it? I forget how high they are. They got a pretty high pick. That would be an interesting move.
I mean, in all, most cases, you probably trade him to the NFC anyway, because a guy like that, you don't want him in your same division. You probably don't want him in your same conference. So more than likely shipping him to the NFC, if anywhere. Now,
Oakland has a lot of assets.
Dan, if Dallas picks up Antonio Brown, I'm going to lose my shit. If that happens, I don't even think it's possible, but I won't be able to handle it.
What about Philadelphia?
I don't even think they can, because they got between paying Carson Wentz, and I don't think they can. I thought there was a bunch.
They could swap Foles, because they can franchise Foles, get him under contract, and trade him. And if Roethlisberger retires, the Steelers need a quarterback.
You know where a good spot for him would be? Seattle with Russell.
Yeah, Wilson has not had a top-level receiving weapon his whole career.
I think that would work out very nicely for them, in all honesty.
So we're kind of like both saying wherever he goes, it changes the whole shape of the division that he's in, because he's just that good. Like, don't get me wrong, I want him on the Jets. If the Jets can trade a 2 this year and a 1 next year for him, I don't know if they have those restrictions on ones like top 10 or later, like no top 10 picks, but like I know the NBA does that, right? Like it's
they're protected, yeah.
Protected. I don't know if the NFL does protected picks, but I mean, I'd swap Leonard Williams for him. Leonard Williams in a pick, just because Williams, he's been good, but he's not game changing. Brown is game changing. He makes everybody better because he's just.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he has a list of teams, and like you said, the next few weeks, if it's going to ramp up, and maybe by the next time we talk next week or 2 weeks, we'll have a little more around it. More educated guesses here, because right now it's wide open. There's no news as far as where he wants to go. I mean, we've seen Instagram pictures of his head on top of a 49ers uniform. So, is that telling? I don't know, but
probably not. That doesn't mean anything.
Right. That's well, obviously, but that's like the only thing we've seen is about where he might end up.
Yeah,
I think it's NFC. If anywhere, it's going to be NFC.
What's interesting, you rarely get. I mean, you get players switching in their primes, but not a lot. Like,
so that means think about this. You're going to have Beckham, possibly Brown, Julio Jones, all in the NFC. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins is still in the AFC, but you're going to have 3 or 4 of the top 5 wide receivers in the NFC now. I mean, it's like the AFC is depleting its talent almost. Bell's not going to be there obviously anymore. Who knows where he goes? But it's almost like all the talent is like moving towards the NFC side.
Yeah, except I feel like the quarterbacks are moving towards the AFC side.
That could be. Yeah, you could certainly be right about it. But then they have no one to throw to.
Right. It's ironic. So we also got some news of Kyler Murray declaring officially that he's going to be an NFL quarterback. He's going to give his money back to the Oakland Athletics.
So I know you're not exactly in Oakland, but what's the pulse of? Do you have any? Do you get any feedback from that area?
No, it really doesn't make it. It's too far away. Is it? Far away. Yeah.
I mean, it almost sounds like Kyler Murray was like, all right, I'm going to play for Oklahoma, obviously. If I have a really good year, I'm going to declare for the NFL draft. If I hurt or have a bad year, obviously I have I'm the number one draft pick of the Oakland A's. So for that to fall back on, it was almost a perfect storm for him. He won the Heisman. He was if he had 5 more minutes of that game against Alabama, they probably beat Alabama. So it's just kind of it was a perfect storm for him. And now I said this, and I thought you agreed with me a few weeks ago that I thought he'd be crazy not to go in the NFL draft. It's guaranteed money right away. You don't have to sit through the minor leagues for God knows how long. And what happens if you get hurt in the minor leagues? You may never get called up.
I'm a football guy. It's the temptation is so hard. You get your money instantly, and you can be a star in the NFL. There are not a lot of baseball stars. It's tough.
Right. It takes. And Bud was on the other side of the fence, and we'll talk about it next week. He said he'd be foolish not to go the MLB route. Yeah, your career might be longer, but you may never get to the big show. You may be the Steve Phillips of the world who's playing minor league baseball for his entire career.
No, you are forgetting. He did get guaranteed money from the A's. He got $1.3 million, and then
he's gonna have to get back.
Right, but it was going to go up to 2.5, I think, if he stuck with them. So he was going to get $2.5 million from them.
He might be the number one quarterback drafted in the draft this year. I don't know who he's.
We'll get to that in a second. So I do feel like baseball is a better play because we can't deny how much football players get hurt mentally and physically. But I'm not surprised he picked football because the star power is there, the allure is there. It's a bigger league right now. And it's a shame. The Athletics kind of got screwed because they don't get a pick back. They just get their money. Now, I guess they still retain his rights. So if he flames out in the NFL after a season, he could go play for the A's later.
Would they welcome him with open arms if that happened?
I have no idea how that would work. But so your Giants already came out and said they will not draft him because he's too short. Is this just
I think that's the knock on him is that he might be really good, but he's what 5'8", 5'9", 5'. I forget the exact. I mean, he's like Brees. Yeah, you can compare him to Drew Brees, but let's be honest, you're not going to compare him to Drew Brees, in all aspects.
Right. Well, that was the knock on Drew Brees. Wasn't that the knock on Russell Wilson too? That he was too short and so he fell. But I think
it worked out for those guys. I mean, I think the Giants are sold on Dwayne Haskins. To be quite honest with you, from everything I've been reading so far, I think it sounds like Dwayne Haskins might be their pick, but you might want to keep that hush hush because God knows. I mean, there could be 6 teams that want to jump you,
right?
To pick number 5. Like you said, maybe the Jets trade back and get 2 or 3 picks.
Yeah,
that's absolutely a possibility. So maybe with the news of Kyler Murray coming out, and someone thinks that he's that good, and they want to make him their pick, that's pick him first.
But so why would the Giants say that he's too short and we don't want him if they really love this other guy? Wouldn't you think they'd rather say, oh, he's good and try to throw teams off the scent and make them think they might like him?
Maybe they're doing the opposite and they're just making you think that they're thinking that way.
Maybe they really want him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game. This whole thing is a complete game. And
I don't feel like the height thing is a factor at all. Like, I mean, obviously, I think it's maybe a 1 in 10 chance if the quarterback becomes a star and a 1 in 3 chance if he actually is your starter for more than a year. Like, the quarterback game, it's always, does it fit with the team? Does it fit with the scheme? Does he have the right support system? Does he come around mentally in the game? Like, there's so many other factors.
Yeah.
Height rarely seems to be one of them.
Yeah, you're right. You can't go correct. You can't go by high load. And obviously he can move very well inside the pocket, outside the pocket. We saw it against Alabama. He clearly has that drive and that ambition and that fire and desire to play. Yeah. So he has heart. Let's put it that way.
So there are some situations though where he obviously would be bad for him. Like I don't know. I mean, I could see the Raiders snatching him up. Like that would put the pressure on Derek Carr though, and they kind of just went all in on him. Do you really think that the Cardinals would get another quarterback? Like, are they going to bail on Rosen so fast? Because he'd be a prize catch for another team.
I saw something come across today real quick, and I swiped it before I can read it. But it basically said that the Cardinals were sticking with Rosen. That fodder about Cliff Kingsbury saying, "Well, if I was the coach of the Cardinals, I would draft Kyler Murray." Well, now he is the coach of the Cardinals and has the first pick, and he sounds. Again, I didn't read it. I kind of just swiped it quick.
Yeah.
But backtracking on that, and they're like, well, Rosen's our guy. Now that could certainly be just coach speak.
Because we see, I mean, a few quarterbacks have done well in their rookie years, but a lot of them come around in their sophomore years, like to really excel. And I mean, very few young quarterbacks right now over the last 2 or 3 years from the draft have absolutely just tanked. I don't think any of them last season tanked. Some of them didn't shine, but none of them sucked. Like
No.
none of them lost their jobs, and all of them played really quickly. The same with the year before, and I think the year before. Yeah, we're on a couple of year run here where we've got mostly good young quarterbacks, and teams have been making smart decisions. Now, the Steelers grabbed one last year. He never saw the field. I don't know if he's a legit option or not, but I don't know. I'm like wondering what actually would be a good fit for Murray. Like, what team needs a quarterback? Like maybe Jacksonville. They don't have they have a high pick.
Jacksonville absolutely needs quarterback. I think they actually have pick 6 or 7. I forget. They're right behind the Giants, and that's teams. Miami too, because I don't think they're. Yes. I think they're not from Chad Pennington. Jeez. Ryan Tannehill. Sorry. So that's 2 teams that could potentially jump New York in the standings or in the draft. To pick either Kyler Murray or Dwayne Haskins, because one of the two or both are going to be picked inside the top 10.
Yes,
doubt that 10 picks go and they're gone. There's no doubt.
Do you think both of them? I don't think they both fall to the Giants, but I'm wondering, like, if somebody trades up to 1, 2, or 3 to get one of these guys, does that force the Giants' hand to try to trade up? I guess it depends on who's still ahead of them, but
yeah,
with only 2 quarterbacks that actually feel worth taking, and none of them are like quite as good as the guys from last year, at least hype wise.
I heard someone call in today and made an interesting suggestion that the Giants trade with Arizona, give them their number 6 pick, and the Giants take Josh Rosen. Not going to happen, but it's an interesting scenario, because at least Rosen's proven he's not proven, but he's played a couple of games. He has some experience under his belt. I said that's not an out of the.
No, that's actually decent, because Rosen to me has a lot of Eli Manning's positive qualities. I didn't watch enough of him to see like where his game's going to evolve. But if he was coming up, I mean, anybody that comes up behind Manning, he's won Super Bowls. He's a super smart quarterback. That's a great learning environment for somebody, in my opinion. The Mannings in general just feel like good teachers. Maybe that's just my perception, but
well, they run their own football camp before the season for all these new quarterbacks coming in. So I mean, they do this like on a regular basis. They do have these camps for the incoming quarterbacks.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. So if Ryan Tannehill is dumped by the Dolphins, who's going to snatch him up? Like, he could be a good fit in Pittsburgh too if Roethlisberger retires. Like, he's no slouch. He just needs I think he needs a change of scenery. Personally. Yeah,
it's going to be a very interesting offseason, because there's a lot of teams that I think need quarterback help. We just mentioned 3 with the Giants, Jacksonville, and Miami. I'm probably forgetting a few. You said Oakland before. Are they committed to Derek Carr? Who knows? But
I think they picked up another year on him, but I think he's got another one season leash, maybe a half season leash. John Gruden's got a quick tug, I think, in my opinion. So he won't let him stick around if he's struggling.
Yeah, between, and I love the fact that the NFL does free agency in March and then the draft. That's the way the NBA should do it too. That's the way all leagues should do it.
Yeah,
it makes it easier because you fill your holes first with free agency, and then you draft for what you need, to be left. So
yeah,
it's gonna come up quick too.
Yeah, well,
can't wait.
The MLB's free agency has been almost a dud so far, because the teams somehow realized we have all the leverage when they didn't before. They kind of stole it. And NBA free agency continues to be a pretty big, spin, and it almost kills the draft. Like, by the time the draft comes, or when the draft happens, like, the draft almost feels like an afterthought, because the first couple players are the only ones that matter, and then the free agency is like the big ticket.
Yeah, nobody cares about the draft. You're right. The first 3 or 4 picks, and I lose interest, to be quite honest with you, too, after 4 or 5 picks. Free agency is like the thing to do in the summer. July 1st is like – is a fun day, because all these guys are ready to go.
I enjoy NBA free agency more than I enjoy 75 to 80% of the season. So,
and you're not the only one. So I wanted to ask this: what was the thought around the Lakers getting screwed on purpose by the Pelicans with the Anthony Davis deal? Not because there was no chance, in my opinion. What a move by the Pelicans, leaking every single offer that came in with no intention of ever trading Antonio Davis.
Yeah. Anthony. Yeah.
I'm Antonio Brown. Anthony
like,
Davis to the Lakers.
I personally like this gamesmanship. I think the Lakers fans 5 years ago were spoiled and they felt like they always get everybody, right? And then they kind of had that down period where they sucked. And honestly, nobody talked about the Lakers because they weren't any good. Like, LA's very much if you're good, we're going to talk about you, town. If you stink, we'll talk about something else. So, like, they were talking a lot about the Clippers because the Clippers were very good. Then immediately that went away. Now,
so obviously, you said over here in New York, if you suck, you're going to get talked about even more than when you're good. So,
I'm not talking about, like, I don't – I'm never a big sports talk guy, so I don't listen to the local sports talk people. I'm sure they're still nutty about their teams regardless. But you kind of get a sense of the city and whether people actually care. And so, like, people care about the Dodgers now. There are a lot of Dodgers fans 2 years in a row in the World Series. There are a lot of lingering Clippers fans who have kind of just decided the team doesn't exist anymore because they're bad this season. So all the Lakers fans are coming back out of the woodwork because they got James and they're going to be good guaranteed, right? I personally love that they screwed. I personally love that another team stuck it to them, a small market team, stuck it to the Lakers and said, "Screw you. You'll get them in the offseason like everybody else."
But that's the thing though. Anthony Davis is still under contract in the offseason. It's not like he's going to be a free agent. Yeah, the Lakers can just wait. They still have to trade him to any one of these teams. So it was a big middle finger to LeBron, to LeBron's camp, to the agent. It was just like, you don't run this league, we're going to screw you because you technically tampered and tried and really torpedoed our season, because now Anthony Davis is – they didn't even play him in the fourth quarter the other day. They sat him.
Yeah, you can't blame teams trying to trade for him for their own crappy team and him not wanting to be there.
No, but notice how the Lakers were the only team that well, I shouldn't say this because I don't know, but they're the only ones who were publicized that made a call and made an offer. You didn't hear any other team. Well, maybe I think the Knicks offered Porzingis and they didn't want him, but that's the only other one.
So the Lakers' tactic is to make it public to try to force your hand to close the deal because everyone wants to get excited about him coming to the Lakers. I guarantee you they got 10 or 15 phone calls and offers.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I think the Pelicans leaked what the Lakers' offers were and no one else's because, again, I don't think they had any intention of ever trading him.
No, but they also may have been trying to drive the price on him drive the price up by leaking the offer.
That's possible too. And also, yeah. So I know we're talking NBA, which is kind of fun too because it's really not going on, but there is a very small possibility that he comes to New York if they get the number one overall pick. If New York doesn't get the number one pick in the lottery, that dream is dead. So
we're going to really see how desirable location the Knicks are this offseason. Obviously, they traded away their best player, but
they're all in free agency, all in.
But they missed the last couple of years in getting anybody. Now, I know they were trying to kind of like come back around on the monetary situation, and they should have the money now to land at least one of these big names, if not two. But it'll be interesting. I still think the draw of Madison Square Garden and the Knicks is there. I think it's definitely there for Kevin Durant. But they have not been able to land these players over the last couple of off seasons, and it is just interesting to me if they still can hold the cachet. Obviously, you're rooting for them too.
So did you hear about the season ticket dilemma the other day?
I did not.
All right, so I think it was earlier this week. You know, they have all these teams want you to re-up for your season tickets for next year. So the picture on the season ticket brochure was one of the Knicks guys who may or may not even be there next year playing against Kevin Durant in his Golden State uniform. So just actually on the promotion for season tickets. So they did actually take that down and say, well, you know, that we have pictures of players all over the place. It's funny that's the one that they actually chose.
No, that was intentional.
There's no doubt in my mind that was intentional. Yeah. If you want to be, I say this, if you want to be relevant and you want to make yourself a legend, you come and you win in New York. No one's been able to do that since 1973. You want to win and you want to be seen as a savior and as a legend. You go into Madison Square Garden, you win a championship. They will put a statue of you the next day outside that arena.
So why do you think LeBron went to the Lakers instead of the Knicks? Do you think you want to leave the Eastern Conference, or do you think the Lakers was just he's already a Hollywood producer? and you think that was kind of his dream to be in LA and be on the Lakers?
I think there was no doubt he was going to LA the entire time. And even back in 2010, when all these teams were making their pitches, they knew that they were all going to Miami. Stop. Let's call it.
Well, I always felt like LeBron was going to end up in LA at some point in his career, probably at the end. They seem to.
But that's now, though. It's close to the end of his career. And
it is. The Lakers landed Shaq at the end of his career. They always land these guys at the end of their careers because why not? They can. Durant's different because he's kind of middle of his career, I think, a little bit more so. A part of me thinks that everyone gave him such crap for going to Golden State 3 years ago now. Yeah.
You just, if you can't beat him, join him, and you just joined a team that had won 73 games the year before, and he's like, all right, I'm going to go to a team and resurrect a team that is in shambles right now, and then you'll see how good I am.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, that's my.
Yeah, I'm hoping for you. So let's tie this back around to the NFL and wrap things up because we've just been talking away. I don't think we got a time limit on our show tonight, which is
I've noticed that we got extended. Our contract got renewed.
Yes. Woo, bonus. So we're talking all this NBA free agency. Obviously, the NFL free agency is coming up. The players kind of have leverage, but they kind of don't. Besides Bell and Brown, are there any other big names you're looking out for NFL-wise?
I don't think that there's any that I really, to be quite honest with you, even know about yet. I'll actually have to look. We'll do that for next week. I'll look at the free list and see who's coming up. But just a general discussion, there's really no one that's like, hey, we know that there's these 5 guys that are going to be out, up for free agency.
Well, there's one player, but the problem is a lot of these guys might re-sign with their current teams. Like
that's what I was going to say. These guys don't hit free agency.
The Cowboys defensive end, I think is it DeMaurice Lawrence, or I'm forgetting how this is.
DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence.
I mean, if I really want the Jets to get him, I feel like a wish list at Christmas of like the positions they needed to fill, and he was one of them that was slotted in. But I don't know if the Cowboys they'd be stupid to let him go. So that's the problem with some of these guys. Their current teams would be dumb to let him walk if they. So.
I feel like a lot of NFL free agency is a lot of offensive and defensive line guys. I feel like a lot of those guys move around all the time, and you don't hear about them because they're not household names. It's a very rare occasion when the Randy Mosses of the world and the Antonio Browns are and even that free agency, he's getting traded.
Well, I'm going to do a little more research because the Jets cut Spencer Long and the Bills already re-signed him. I'm like, free agency hasn't started, so I'm missing something here. Like,
there's so many quirky rules, and I'll never admit that I know everything about the salary caps and all the free agency rules. There's so many different quirky rules. It's impossible to keep up.
And so, how bad must you feel as a Bills fan when the Jets cast off offensive lineman is your immediate signing of the offseason? Like, your first signing is the Jets cast off. Like, I was happy to see him go because he just was a mess on that team. And he's coming off a finger injury, and like, he might be great, but he had an awful year. It was just funny to see them. They wasted no time in getting him. I don't know. Well, I'll give you my final thoughts, and then you can give me yours. I'm super intrigued. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see the irony of Brown and Bell on the same team not being Pittsburgh come to fruition. It's possible with a few locations, but I don't see it happening. And I don't see Kareem Hunt playing for the Browns next season either. I feel like that was a quick decision. Maybe they do deal him. I don't see him suiting up for them. That's a nice young team. Why inject that guy into that locker room? I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I agree. It was a really quick signing with the events that happened last year. And again, to no one's surprise, Cleveland is a funny place for him to land. I want to try to agree with you. Because they have Nick Chubb, they already have an established guy there. Like, why did you sign him in the first place? I don't know. Your whole thought about maybe they get some compensatory picks if they trade him. That's absolutely possible because some team's going to sign him. Let's be honest. If he's reinstated and he's fine, somebody's going to pick him up. There's no or trade for him or whatever. But I think he's going to play again next year. Maybe it's not Cleveland. Your thought about both guys in the same team, it's a fun thought, but that's not going to happen. I don't think
it's very unlikely.
It would be fun to see. So my final thought is I really think that this AAF is going to continue to prosper, and because they're not not a league that's going to directly compete with the NFL, and that's not their game plan. The game plan is to be the developmental league, and we're going to see players that are playing now that are going to be playing in the fall. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
Maybe 2, 3, 4. You're not going to see 15, but there's going to be players that we're going to see playing in the fall from this league.
Yeah, no, that's exciting.
So do your homework this weekend and you watch some of these AAF games and let me know your thoughts.
I will. I'm following along with San Diego. It was funny. I was trying to look up the scores on Monday, and I saw tons of articles previewing the league, but only one about the actual scores. So the media coverage is lacking, so that we're trying to pick up some slack ourselves. So we'll dive in a little bit more. Maybe we can tease some of the scores next week and like the standings, since very few people are touching on that.
Yeah, you're right. It's not easy to find. It's not on ESPN. It's not anywhere that's front page sports.
Well, ESPN had a great preview article describing the differences, but then they didn't even. Now maybe CBS Sports is giving them a blackout. That was where the game recaps.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we'll get Buddy next week to get his thoughts. I know he was too busy on It's a Small World this week, but he didn't watch any AAF football. So hopefully we'll get some this week and we'll get his thoughts too.
We'll see. Hopefully he ran into Edelman and took a nice.
Oh God, I hope so.
All right. See ya.
All right. Talk to you next week.
Thanks for watching BuzzChomp.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Subscribe and share.
Share.
Woo.